Welcome to the Diablo III podcast. We are online at diablo8gamers.com. I'm your host, Flux, and I'm joined on the show by Holy Knight.
Hello.
And by Rankil.
Greetings.
And I moved last week. This is my first podcast in a new room, and my voice sounds kind of echoey because I have more of a wall in front of me than I used to. So if the sound is different, it's Holy Knight's fault. And we're going to talk about recent play experiences and some ideas about achievements and how people are doing higher level 50+ greater rifts already, and popular legendary gems and what legendary gems would be useful if they were usable on followers, and a little bit about BlizzCon stuff. But first off, recent play stuff. And I have absolutely nothing to contribute because I moved last week and I was every day out packing and moving and doing things and unpacking and decorating, and my mom was in town visiting and helping out with that, so I had zero time for video games. Hopefully our guests are different stories. So what have you been up to lately, Rankil? You said you've been playing some console?
Yeah, I've actually... it was kind of more just getting into like the point where the seasons, as they go along, and you kind of get to that point where like you're looking for the super rare items of the star medals and like that kind of stuff, and you just it's like I can keep progressing. It's kind of a thing that I've been debating too, is I'm almost thinking the next season I'm going to go softcore, because this whole thing of like doing greater rifts and everything else and progressing, and I guess we could talk about those later, but it's like, I don't know, I'm getting soft, and so I started playing console, which is just kind of like sit on my couch, be lazy. The cats are sitting in my lap, and I can kind of pet them, and I can actually like converse with my girlfriend, and she doesn't get as mad at me for playing video games all day. And I actually ended up finally kind of biting down and buying a PS4 because I'd been playing on PS3, but that should be coming at sometime later this week. But yeah, that's kind of basically what I'm doing. Just kind of, I was leveling up characters because it started all with that. They did the 100% XP bonus for the PS3 guys. So I was like, well, I might as well level all my guys up to 70. And then by doing that, I was like, I'm kind of actually enjoying this. So I just leveled up a bunch of guys and now kind of like progressing some characters. And then I was like, man, not having 2.1 sucks. And that was kind of the thing that put me over into getting... Eventually I was going to get a PlayStation 4, but so that kind of pushed me over into buying it.
How is your monk disposal service going?
I made a new one. He hasn't died yet, or she, I guess. But I guess I haven't progressed her enough. But that's kind of the thing, is I'm farming stuff on a demon hunter right now still. That one hasn't died, which is good. And yeah, it's just a matter of like getting up materials, and then like the last week of the season, I'm gonna make the push on my hardcore characters on greater rifts and just see what I can do, because I know they're gonna die eventually. So that's kind of more what I'm doing, is just saving up the best gear that I have, so that when I die, I lose the best gear instead of like die and then have to refarm up everything to get back to the point where you were.
And so what have you been up to lately, Holy Knight? Something other than killing the Panda King over and over again?
No, yeah. I've been doing... The highest greater rift I've done so far this season's been level 33, but it didn't really do so well, so I got a 32. And I've been leveling up some of my gems lately. I recently got the Unrelenting Phalanx, so I'm trying to get Dal Kaiser's build to try. And my monk's kind of building up as a tank in greater rifts right now. She can survive a good chunk, she just doesn't deal as much damage as I'd like. So pretty much is about all I've been doing, leveling gems and whatnot with friends.
So you're playing a monk and you don't think the killing speed is adequate. You and every other monk on Battle.net, right? Have you considered just casting lots of sentries and then standing there watching while they kill things for you? You're like, I would if I could.
I made a slight variation, though. I used that new seasonal bow. So I was like firing bolas and it was sucking guys in, but it was still a sentry build. It was kind of like, if you want to go higher up, that's like all you have, though, which is annoying.
Yeah, I haven't played in a couple of weeks, but I mean, I was up to greater rifts mid-20s on Europe on my Demon Hunter and refusing to use Sentry. I just had 3 pieces of the set, and I had 10 more sitting in my stash, but I was just running with the M4 with Ring of Royal Grandeur on. And it's fun to have all the pets, and I was also using some pieces of Nat's set and Og Hills I had just for the defensive bonuses basically. And it's just you can do pretty easily 25, and I had no problem not dying. I had much more toughness than I needed, but I just couldn't get enough offensive power. I mean, my gear was far from optimized even for what I was doing, but you're just aware the whole time that I could put on 2 more pieces of Marauder set and immediately go to like GR29 easily, and without even changing any other gear.
Yep.
And that's even in hardcore where it actually matters what you do and stuff. And if I wasn't hardcore, I could have done 50 or something. Okay, not 50, but 35 or whatever. But It's like, it's just you're so aware that there's this one build that's so much more powerful than anything else you're doing, and it's like if you don't want to do it because it's really not a very demon huntery build. You're dropping traps and they're killing stuff. I really like the pew 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 style of play, but it seems like that's just. I'm sure there's someone who's got a really good, a non-Marauder 6 a demon hunter build that can do like GR35 or something. But
the thing is, I don't even. It's like you said, it's the same as the damage output. Like the only thing that would come close to it is probably the Nats 4-piece, and you need to kill stuff in order to refresh your Rain of Vengeance. And that's the thing, is like it's like you need to have that first initial like burst damage in order to kill stuff, and then after that it's kind of okay for trash, but once it comes to single targets, it's terrible. So
yeah, you need like a Rain of Vengeance that just casts perpetually. It just follows you around like a cloud. I mean, literally like a cloud. That would kind of compare to Marauders, but even then it would be like much less. So
yeah, and I mean I know they keep saying there was a lot of other stuff, but it's just the Blizzard way of doing it where they take slow, as they said they wanted to make. Either they wanted to take the old sets and make them 6-piece sets to have an additional piece on them, which honestly I don't like that. I kind of like the Sun Wukong set for monks. I think is great having 4 pieces, but I would almost like it better if it was 6 pieces total that gave you 2, 3, and 4-piece bonuses, because it would give you more freedom where to put those pieces. It's just that it feels like every set right now is just, or every class is just take your 6-piece, put it on a character, find the 1 or 2 supporting pieces that go with it, put a double unity on your character, and go to the higher Greater Rift levels.
Which, to be fair, is about 1,000 times more depth than we had in Diablo 3 Vanilla.
Yeah,
that's true.
So, next topic. Recent play stuff. Holy Knight, you're our fan art guy. You've been doing a lot more than that. You were helping out a lot on the news posting the last week and a half or so while I was busy with moving and had no internet for a few days and stuff.
Yeah.
And but I was curious about the fan art stuff. There was a recent one we did with we did. I say we as the royal we. Obviously, you did it with the fan classes.
Those were cool.
And I realize it's kind of stupid to discuss fan art on an audio show because tell us about the colors in this piece, But obviously, people can follow the links if they want to see it. So what is your favorite fan art of late? I mean, you liked that one?
I actually like the Shadow Thief myself.
So describe for people who haven't seen the post. What was the concept there?
The concept on that was it's been a while since people have seen others in the community making fan classes, because we used to have some kind of push to make fan classes back early on with the whole hype and everything of original Diablo. So I figured, you know what, I'll go look around and see. There's and there was one artist that did 3 of them. You got the Shadow Thief for one person, Amazona for another. Then I guess I have a Demonologist, and then the guy did a Diablo 3 version of a Necromancer and Druid. Love those to be in the game, but myself. But we can dream.
Well, our usual joke is the Druidomancer would be the next character.
Druidomancer. We'll combine these two.
Which I really hope they don't do. He summons undead wolves, apparently.
Yeah.
Kind of hope for a
the
druid.
Demon Hunter's already got that anyway, really.
That's what I hope for the next expansion is a druid, though. Like everyone says they want a necromancer, but I look at it and I'm like, I was a big Necro fan, but Witch Doctor I think still is. It's not perfect 1-to-1. You don't have skeletons and undead and physical based, but I think it does pretty good. And like the little fetish guys is kind of like a skeleton, when you think of it.
It has a feel similar, but it's just a different kind of thing altogether.
Yeah, I don't really see where the room for, because the Necromancer's thing really was curses, which I guess no class really has in Diablo 3. I mean, they're kind of just lots of kinds of debuffs and buffs. But that'd be kind of interesting. But then it was all about summoning stuff, and we've kind of got witch doctors and demon hunters that have really good pets. And then he did all this cool stuff with corpses, and there aren't any corpses in Diablo 3. I mean, just the game engine doesn't retain bodies. So it's like, what do we have? What niche is there for a necromancer that's not covered except for curses, right?
Yeah, the bodies are there, but I don't know necessarily if they have like an interaction with them. There's nothing. It's kind of
they just vanish in 10 seconds though. So
yeah, and like exploding. Or they explode into tiny little giblets of pieces, which was always the annoying thing of playing a necromancer with like a frost sorceress. And they would
because you
shatter.
Actually needed bodies as a resource.
Yeah.
All your skeletons and your revived and stuff and your corpse explosion required bodies. And
Druids
you don't have bodies
did too with that. Wasn't that one vine that ate stuff?
Yeah, nobody played Druids. It doesn't matter.
Heart of the Oak is something, I don't know if that's its name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it would like eat corpses and give you
vine
health back or something
around.
like that. Yeah.
But I don't know. Druids got better in later patches. I played Druids for the first couple of years, and they were always just sort of like the only useful build was like the Fury build or the Frenzy or whatever it was called. But you were just basically a paladin using Zeal.
Yeah,
the wolf.
Yeah,
wolf. I mean, you were basically that. You had basically that. You had a tank. I mean, I think there were some caster builds that I remembered seeing, but it wasn't really.
Wasn't as
I don't know.
good.
I never really. I felt like, oh, if you're going to be a caster class, you might as well just play a sorceress. But I mean, I had a variance of a lot of classes that I played, and I called what it was a hunter druid, and it was you could only use a bow and arrow, and you could only use the pets and summons, and I was playing
So
that in hardcore, and it was like it was really slow, but it was
You could
just
only die in Act 1, right?
I died in Act 2 in Arcane Sanctuary, but it was it was fun though. I mean that's kind of the thing is like I liked doing that kind of stuff. I feel you can't really. I mean, I guess you can kind of get away with that in D3. You can do those. I don't know if you've ever seen those like random builds, where like you take a random build and those are the only skills that you can use. And like as you're leveling up, like if you don't have a skill that you don't get until like level 20, you have to use like auto attack basically. So it's kind of just a fun little challenge to do.
So it's like Diablo 2 again.
Yeah,
You're saving your skill points until level 24.
pretty much.
and then doing it with,
God, finally strafe.
right. My main tunes in D2 were. It was originally
Just don't call them tunes.
Excuse me.
Just don't call it. You're a Warcraft player. I know that's understandable in that game, but
characters.
I just don't like tunes. It just makes me very unhappy.
Well, I was originally a Diablo 2 player before World of Warcraft, so. But my characters back then were a Boazon before they nerfed the Pierce on Guided Arrow or whatever it was, and then I switched over to Javazon and went from there. Had a Paladin too, but I just stuck with the Javazon.
I think it'd be awesome to have like because they keep talking about the Amazons, so I almost feel they might bring an Amazon back, but I would think that because it has to be a shapeshifter class, so I think some sort of like Amazon shapeshifting hybrid would be pretty awesome.
Some
Like
kind of
have
hybrid,
where you're using throwing weapons and having you're actually like throwing spears and whatever. You can shapeshift, and I don't know, you've got those gigantic Amazon boobs, which are like abnormally large. That's like all I remember is from like being a kid that is like 18 or whatever it was when I was playing that, and I'm just like, my God, her boobs are huge.
Well, her armor had big boobs shapes in it. She could have been flat as a board for all we know.
It could be. It was
was
the
just the
original Diablo
breastplate, so to
2
speak.
padded armor bra.
Yeah, it was like Batman's. It was like the bat suit with nipples. You just mean he has nipples
Right.
exactly beneath those. That's what the suit is made to look
Do
like.
not remind me of the horror of Batman and Robin.
Like the the built-in six-pack. Your six-pack is it's hard molded plastic, but yes. So I'm not sure how we got there from fan art, but moving right along.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with all the classes, you think about it. There's at least 2 strength classes. There's 2 agility classes. Some kind of caster's got to be filling in there for the 6th class. So, kind of having that hybrid of the like you're talking about with the shapeshifter would kind of fill that void a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's a thought speculation.
I mean, yeah, people talk about with like making up classes, and saying like having a vitality-based class or something like that. Which I mean, it'd be cool, but I don't know how or even with like the shapeshifter one where based off of which form you're in is which main stat that you use, so it actually kind of has this like, but like then how do you work smart loot on that case?
That sounds way too complicated.
Yeah. It
So-
could be a split thing like the Demon Hunter again. Having mana and then whatever to make them special for 2 resources,
Yeah, could be.
or just
Well, I think the whole thing with Amazons. I don't think shapeshifting Amazons have any place in the lore. But then again, they're happy to make it up as they go, as we've seen many times.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you look at what was the big complaint about Diablo 3? Too colorful. I mean, we all remember that. The whole too colorful thing, and then Whimsyshire and stuff. So then what was Act 5? Act 5 was like totally gothic and dark and gloomy, and I think we all get the clear impression that was sort of a reaction to the fan complaints. So I guess they've kind of reestablished their gothic cred now, right? So I guess they can go anew in Act 6, and we often thought that it would be set in Skovos, which is sort of a Greek
I
island
thought it'd
kind of
be
look where the
good, too.
Amazons are.
You
So I guess they could do a sunny outdoor area now that they've had gothic everything in Act 5.
Yeah,
right?
you could have like and then just kind of like I mean, it's almost like an Aztec-y kind of, looking type, jungly, that kind of stuff or whatever. And I mean, I think that would flow. It would flow pretty good. It's something that, because I mean, its most part was when you looked at D3 and you're just like, oh, look, you've got basic whatever open lands, and then going into cathedrals and that kind of stuff. Second one is a desert, and then you're like, oh, and you're into a mountain type thing or whatever, which was more or less kind of Act 5, and then I guess the going into heaven, which was more or less the hell. But so it had the kind of similar flows to it, but yeah, I mean, I thought Act 5 was done really well, and if you've even ever looked at the
You've never seen it since,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, like
All the bounties are, all the
nobody
bounties
runs.
take 25 minutes.
See, the
well,
only way the good.
No, I was just, yeah, it's like the only reason why people run Act 5 is for like the Hell Trapper now because of Demon Hunters. Like, but nobody even cares about Act 5 really at that point. It's just kind of they did a really good job at it, but nobody plays it because the only time you see the tile sets is in Rifts, really.
Yeah, see, if they had, they need to put, if they had a good variety of more rewards in these, in the caches there, make them random sometimes. People would actually go to do all the acts at that point. That would balance things out. So.
Yeah, I think
But they
that's
would
something
still
that they.
complain that it was too big.
Yeah, I just feel that it does. I mean, it's nice having them where you can kind of focus farm some things, but they need to have like
The variety.
generic cat. Well, it's like generic cash rewards that work. That you can get them from any act, or the ones that are the daily bonuses. Like you get maybe like quadruple the drop rate or something like that on it. That actually incentivizes people to do the daily ones. Because that's another thing too. Is like, I mean, what do you get? I don't even know what you get out of the daily one. Isn't it like 2 more blood shards or something?
Yeah, it's double the blood shards.
Yeah, which is like you don't even get that many blood shards. I think.
Yeah, and you get 100 from doing one rift. It's like who
Yeah,
cares
that's the
about
point, right?
5 extra ones from some bounty stuff.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even make it like double your magic find chance or something for cash reward. Well, I guess that's moot now by the T2 to T6 stuff, but
Well, a chance to have a second legendary guarantee
Yeah, that could
drop if it's in T6 or something.
yeah.
Of course, the only thing anybody cares about is the Roarg, though. So we did this on recent podcasts. It's like what if they just switched the Ring of Royal Grandeur to Act 5?
Well, yeah, then
Everyone would
just run
do
Act
Act 5 and then complain mercilessly about how the areas were too large.
Right?
Oh, it's really bad to run it too. I mean, like if you actually, I mean, when I was chasing Hell Trappers for a bit on my Demon Hunter, and a lot of those quests and stuff, some of them are just really annoying, and I mean they're nicely done, but and the zones are really nice, but yeah, a lot of them are. Even the other one too on hardcore, it's that it's like the Great Machine or Death Machine. I don't know, whatever it is. But like if you're not standing behind the bubble, it's a guaranteed like one-shot kill of your character. So I'm sure there's a lot of hardcore people that have died from doing that bounty.
Yeah, getting behind those angels.
Yeah, that's funny. We had all in Diablo 3 vanilla. Everyone was like, the areas are too small. We want larger randomized areas and outdoor areas. And then that's what they give us in Act 5. Everyone's like, Act 5 is too big. The outdoor areas are too randomized. It's like, this is why making video games sucks.
You just can't win.
You give people
they
exactly
can't.
what they say and they don't like it.
Yeah, you just can't win.
So that's why they should just not listen to them and just make their games.
Make it how they want to play it. And
Well, that was what Jay Wilson did. We saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
Okay, so next topic. Very high level greater rifts. For a while, people were like, 30 is high, and then it was like people were getting into 40s, and that was impressive. And suddenly there's like 50s popping up. I posted news a few days ago. The first solo Demon Hunter did 50 on the Asian realm, which may or may not have been legit. We don't know.
Yeah.
But then Holy Knight posted just like yesterday. 3 guys doing a level 52 rift, and actually it's a video. And I haven't watched that one yet. Did they get like 9 conduit shrines in a row, or was it basically they actually earned it?
They got one. They went and had somebody trigger the conduit, and they nuked it. I found out that it was not seasonal, but they saved a conduit from what I could tell. They did everything, and then they had somebody go out and find it, hit it, bam, guy dies in 5 seconds or something like that. And
So just the Rift Guardian they did the conduit
that's it.
for.
Yeah, you save like one elite that's by the conduit or whatever it is, so that when you end up activating the conduit, you have, or at least you have one elite that's left, and once you kill the elite with the conduit, it spawns the guy, and then you can kill him in that 15 seconds. But yeah, it's kind of a thing too, is that a lot of those, it's a matter of at that high of a level, it's always an RNG for it, of getting the perfect density and the amount of guys. And I mean, there's Alkaiser had been running, ones where his records of his guys or whatever that he runs between, I don't know if it was between the Barb, I think it was the Crusader was the last one where you like reclaimed the #1 spot, but he did it without conduits on it. And he actually like, in one of them that he did get a conduit, he went through and got the conduit, and he's like, I feel like I'm supposed to be happy, but he's like, I'm not. This feels miserable, to how it is. He's like, this is just a terrible way to do this, and he specifically, I think he even timed it so that it was like 14 minutes, 59 seconds, so that he could easily go back, and if he actually got a good, decent density rift without a conduit, he could still beat that same one, which he ended up doing it later. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, and the other thing too is it's like the trial system and all that stuff to get up there. I mean, those guys, I mean, they're obviously probably using a demon hunter to get the trials up there, but at least you have them. But you still got to go through and progress for the most part. I think through those you got to go one at a time rifts leading up to the point, because it's not like they get a 52 from trials. I don't think so, because for the most part I've heard that it gets into like really big heavy hit point guys. I mean, I've never done it personally to get up to there, because I'd probably die on a trial at that point if I was doing it with my demon hunter.
Yeah, they said I remember seeing somewhere someone saying that when you get to that point, you've got those colossal gold gore, like you said, the big HP guys. So those would have to tickle a bit.
Yeah.
And they're rapidly increasing in difficulty if you jump. The ones I get, it's when you get kind of an easy wave, and suddenly you go up like 4 levels instead, or 6 levels instead of like 2.
Then it's
I had a
all
couple
hokey
times where I was
face
trying to
or
get
something.
one. Yeah, I was trying to get one to like 25 or 26 when I was just trying to get my gems up, and suddenly you're on like 29, and it's like if you're right at the edge of you can do 26, and then higher than that's a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're hardcore, suddenly it's like, okay, I'm not going to die in a wave. That's just wrong.
Yeah, and that's
It's
still
not
the
just
thing
at the
too.
edge of
Is,
the screen and you're safe.
like you said,
But
you're going for like a 25 or something like that, and you get to 29. But the thing is, you could finish that 29, you could get like a 25 keystone from it, but you don't know. And then the next time you could run the same thing, and you could get a 28 out of it. Like, it's just the inconsistency of like running those things too. Is, I mean, even for hardcore, because it's like, we go through when we do in our groups, we're like, okay, we want to start at this level and kind of progress slowly up, and it's like you go through and you just happen to get good density on it, and you bump up 3 levels, and everyone's like, well, I guess it's time to upgrade your not your keystones, but your gems at that point. So
at least you can see the timer and just choose to stall some if you want.
yeah, but I mean,
you
that's
just
kind of
do
a
a
thing.
bounty
Is
and come
like
back.
it's strange that you get penalized kind of in a way for completing things fast and getting lucky with the density. Like it's at the end, it should just say, if you were able to upgrade 3 levels, you should choose to upgrade 1, 2, or 3 levels. Like in the same way that it brings a list of all of your your gems on it. It'll just give you like a list of, say you're at 25 and you could go up to 30, you'd have 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. You just pick which one you want. So that way you could go through and just complete things as fast as you can, and then, one up every single one or something. But
People say the same thing for the waves in the first place.
Yeah.
If I can do 30, I shouldn't have to do waves. I just want to start in 30.
yeah, even doing like
And as
increments of 5 or something, something like that, so that at least it's not like, specifically choose which one you want to do. But even then, I could see at the higher greater rifts, you get to that point where say you do, you could do a 40, you're doing a 43 or something like that. And then the only way that you could, get yourself up to is a 40. Well, you might have a 40 with a terrible density and a bunch of bad mobs that you can't pass it. So it's like you just wasted a keystone doing that, But I don't even know, what is the torment level that those like getting up into 50s and stuff is, pushing to.
It's about 3 torments it's about 3 GRs per torment, and 25 is equal to 6. So
Yeah.
28 will be 7, 31 is 8, 34 is 9, 37 is 10.
So probably.
So they're up at like torment 14 on Greater Rare 50.
Yeah.
I could do that if I wanted to, though. I just don't want to.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of always that, talking about too is, it always comes up of, I mean, first off, people are saying that they should introduce more torment levels, and I think that's kind of ridiculous, because, I mean, if you have that many difficulty levels of the fragmentation of people, like, I like it where kind of T6 is now the difficulty where everybody's in, and then you just run kind of greater rifts on the side type thing.
But people could do those in 2.5 minutes with really good
Yeah.
characters. I mean, if the whole game is like you're playing on normal for for people with reasonable characters.
Well, that's kind of what D2 was, though. I mean, eventually you got to the point where you were just kind of blowing through and doing bail runs on hell, and it really didn't. Nothing was really hard at that point. It was just a matter of like, am I gonna accidentally get hit one of those exploding guys when I'm teleporting trying to find the entrance? That's basically like the only way you would die in those points, but.
Well, we can try to improve upon that, though, can't we?
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing, too, is it's always, the incoming damage, and everyone complains and says, oh, Jailer, is one-shotting them. But it's like, okay, so they take away Jailer. What's the next thing is going to one-shot a character. And then even if they take away all the elite affixes to make them not one-shot you, it's going to be, like a hulking phase beast teleporting on you or something, So it's kind of like, I mean, I know that it's interesting seeing these guys, in softcore progressing these ones and pushing them really hard, but it's kind of a thing as being a hardcore player. I feel like I'm missing kind of part of the game from it, and that's why I was back to talking I was thinking next season of just playing softcore just so that I could try and progress high level greater rifts, because I feel like, you go through and you just have like a bad situation and some bad guys and you lose a character and you're kind of like, well, that sucks. I mean, it's not bad to go back and re-gear, but it sets you back at those high greater rift levels. I mean, you can easily get back to T6, but if you're doing greater rift, even 40 in hardcore is pretty tough, but it's if you die during that, you're not getting back into greater rift 40 for quite a while.
So any thoughts from you, Holy Knight, on waves and rifts in general, greater rifts?
Well, like you said, there's certain ones that are easy, and then there's the big boost up with the bigger ones. It seems the system's kind of interesting. I mean, it's balanced now, kind of, but yeah, I don't know. I almost got nothing at this point, because there'll be easy ones and there'll be difficult ones, and then you get to the point where you'll finally get to a certain level. The highest one I ever got into was a public one, and I think we managed to get to like 28 to 30. That's the highest, and stuff was hit pretty darn hard.
Well, that's why you just get some demon hunters and put sentries in the middle and just stand on the edge of the screen and watch stuff die. But
that's what we had with most of the group, and I just ran away.
You're just buffs.
Mm.
Have you got the Panda King yet, by the way? How's that going?
Oh, I defeated that guy off about 10 minutes into the podcast.
Oh, you're just that powerful. Exactly. So, as I said in a recent podcast, talking about all this greater rifts and randomization of waves and stuff, if you can't get screwed by RNG, it's not a Diablo game. So that's why you can't just select whatever wave you want and select whatever greater rift you want. You have to have RNG, and you have to be able to screw you. Otherwise, it's not really the game. Otherwise, you're playing World of Warcraft, right?
Pretty
much.
Okay, next point. So, achievements. I posted, there was some blue post about achievements. There was some bug and some workaround, and I was just curious about that. I don't really pay attention to them myself. And thinking, what would make me actually care about achievements? And I said, what if they gave you in-game buffs? And so I kind of threw that as a vote, thinking that people would be like, oh, this is horrible, there shouldn't be buffs, achievements are all about EPing and nothing else, and just numbers on your screen. And actually, it got a pretty good response. I mean, the votes, there aren't that many votes on it yet. I put it up just a couple of days ago, but actually, I think it was yesterday I put it up. But so the leading response was no buff, but there should be more visual effect on the character. So at least you would know it as opposed to just the words appearing on the screen.
Yeah, I like that.
But then a fair number of people, 26%, said yes, there should be like a community event type buff, like you get a Magic Finder, Gold Finder experience buff for an hour or something like that. And my thought was not every single time you get an achievement, but like, every, I don't know, 50 points or 100 points or something like that, it would give you some kind of special bonus. And are either of you guys fans of achievements? Do you hunt them? Do you harvest them? And would you care if they had in-game buffs? Would that be cool, or would that be an abomination?
I am an achievement nut myself.
How many do you have?
Let's see.
If you don't know, then you're not an achievement nut.
4960. Or 4690.
And that's, you're not playing seasonal, so that's...
Well, on the seasonal, I've got 3250.
Well, they add together in your thing.
Yeah, so it's over 7,000 then.
Over 7,000?
2,000.
Yeah, that's not very many. I have that many. The nuts have 10,000 and more, so...
Yeah, it's kind of a thing. Like I wanted to try, because it was before the expansion came out. I was thinking, I was like, I should go through and do my achievements or something else like that and try and go through them. And then once I started kind of looking at them, I was like, oh dear God, I'm not going to do any of these, because it's just. It's almost in a way, it's like they're giving you achievements though for playing the game, and those are the kind of achievements that I don't like. And I know that they kind of have to eventually get up to the point, where it's like the chess master one, opening 2,000 chests or whatever it is.
Yeah, Rankil has turned over a rock.
Yeah, and it's like
ding ding ding.
It's like I think it was like Stanley Parable, where like you join the game and you start it up, and it's like you get the achievement, like, hey, you played the game. It's like, congratulations, like here's your achievement. And it's like, what? I started the game, and why is it giving me an achievement point for this? Like, just kind of things where you always get those achievements and you're like, what is this for? What do I get that for? But like,
it's like graduating from kindergarten,
yeah,
big ceremony.
But I mean, the achievements though that I do like are the ones where it's kind of like a it's similar to like a conquest type thing, but even like a challenge mode ones, where there was like kill Diablo naked, but even though I think there was ways that you could cheese that by doing that, but stuff like that, like doing different things, or like it's like play a class or something, like do a rift with only one skill on your skill bar or something like that. Like if they actually had achievements that were little kind of tiny mini game type things of ways to play it, then or even like it's like clear a rift as a demon hunter with a sword and a shield on or something like that. Although you could just use, I think, Marauder still with that, so it wouldn't really be that hard. But it's like stuff like that. Like if they had achievements that were that way, I think they would be fun to do because it would be like, oh hey, let me re-gear a character, and it gives you kind of more of an incentive to maybe do like an item hunt or something else to do it. But for most of the part, they're just like, do 10,000 bounties or whatever the heck it is. It's like, okay, I just play the game for a long time, and eventually I'm going to get, some of these achievements.
With all the classes.
Although I still have yet to see the cow level at all. I have not seen it out of my entire time playing Reaper of Souls.
I haven't killed the Lord of Bells either.
Yeah, and it's like that. I mean, that's kind of a thing too. Is like even if I wanted to find achievements, I have yet to even find them by just playing the game of ones that I should eventually come across. So it's like making them even that rare of an occurrence for them to be an achievement seems in itself just kind of shenanigans.
So if there were rewards, in-game rewards, would you be more motivated? Would you actually hunt them down? Like, have you done the... What is the one? If you dye all your gear pink and kill Diablo, there's an achievement, I think?
I think just having... even having, like, visual stuff, like maybe making, like, certain dyes, Because, that would be something that would kind of work for everything. Or just transmogs. But, transmogs are models, but I could see them doing dyes, maybe, because that's pretty easy. Like, I don't know if you remember, there was, like, it was a blue and a green dye that were like the basic lowest grade dyes, and they used to have this really cool kind of like bright fluorescent color that almost made your character, it was like extra bright. And then they went through in a patch later on and they kind of dulled them down and took the shine out of them. But it's kind of in a way like I wish that they would have more, brighter standout colors kind of on your character, and maybe you get those through achievements or something like that, or getting even to like where you were saying is like you get to certain levels of achievements and maybe you get different. And it's part of like the seasons that you would get, because making these like banner rewards and stuff, it's kind of like, I think there was like a long time ago we had talked about at BlizzCon where they showed your banner and how it was supposed to have like piles of skulls and all this other stuff and other things hanging from it and all this other cool stuff, and we don't even have anything that's similar to that. So
I think it just didn't show up on the ground, probably.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, putting in visual things, I think, better than buffs, because if it makes it a buff and it's something that helps you, clear faster or get more magic find, then it more or less, instead of them being optional achievements, it becomes more or less a requirement if it's something that is an actual like good tangible benefit to your character. But I'm totally fine with like cosmetic looking things, or maybe they give you another stash tab, I don't know, something like that.
That would be mandatory then.
Yeah,
pretty
Everyone
much.
must have stash tabs.
I'd be all for the dyes myself, because gold extra dyes would be nice.
I always thought that the dyes originally were just going to be these like super rare things that you would get as drops, and not that you would like go to a vendor and you would be able to buy every single dye that you wanted off of them. Because like it'd be really cool if you like abyssal dyes were a rare drop or something like that, and you didn't just dye everything abyssal all the time. It was like, man, I'm going to save up 6 abyssals so that I can finally dye my piece of armor look like this.
Yeah, the color I'd like to get my hands on was kind of a sky blue, like the Innis set. But they don't have it, which it'd be nice to get that somehow, some way. But
I think that's kind of that one that I was talking about, where it used to be like a really bright color. I don't know if it was maybe a little bit darker, but it was that and like a green one. I forget the names of those dyes, but yeah, they were like, it was like the beginner basic ones that were like 200 gold or something like that.
Yeah, I think pre-game we all expected more from dyes, that they would actually have, like if you got all your gear red, you get like a fire resistance bonus or something like that, or there'd be like flaming effects from like ultra rare dyes, that kind of thing. And none of that's ever happened. Maybe an expansion, who knows? But
yeah, who knows? That'd be neat.
I don't even really bother with dyes, because like I don't really care. Okay, like some of the gear is so ugly, like I don't know, like gold skin is just hideous yellow. I'll actually dye that sometimes, but usually you just go invisible dye. Remember with the Vile Ward shoulders, you used to always invisible dye those, because those huge horns would just poke out into the middle of your neck, basically. Some gear those are very ugly. But yeah, dyes could definitely be better. So next topic, legendary gems.
Ooh.
Legendary. I posted a vote earlier this week asking people for their favorite legendary gems, and to know either to complete surprise or no surprise, Boon of the Hoarder is the #1 vote. You can vote for up to 3, and that one's got 39% of the vote, which is more than anything else. Bane of the Trapped is next at 31%, which I guess it just proves there's lots of century-using demon hunters out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was surprised. Boon of the Hoarder, I see posts all the time. Gold is useless now. It's too easy to get gold. I have 2 billion. I don't care. I'm so sick of this. And then somehow Boon of the Hoarder gets 40% of the vote. By far the leading choice. So we just can't resist the shiny. What is the moral of this
You
story?
can use it to be as well. What is it? It's the Kimbo's gold
Gold,
is the one that heals you, and then you can have the gold wrap too. So I mean, if you're
gold wrap, and
using
then yeah,
it,
you have 50 trillion
yeah,
toughness.
you're
Then.
using it for like super toughness, and I mean, when you upgrade it, plus it gives you every time you pick up gold. I think you end up getting movement speed. So it's like I've seen a lot of like T6 speed clear. They run that
Yeah,
with the
it's
conduit
awesome.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
useless in greater rifts, but
yeah.
awesome in
Yeah,
otherwise.
my monk has got. I used her for the Boon of the Hoarder, and with all the speed buffs I got through it, there was one time I was going so fast, like I can't control my character. She is blazing through,
Yeah.
and just with the group, and I don't know. This is what I do with my Boon of the Hoarder. Say a friend wants to be power leveled. I put my gold fine gear on, Boon of the
Hmm.
Hoarder, go help them. Just like I did last night, I got almost 30 million gold doing that for the person.
I did
But
that,
don't
and
you
then
have
I
like four
lost my
billion gold
character.
already though?
No, I'm poor. That extra made me back from being poor.
Yeah, that's how I lost my monk. I was power leveling my friend, and I had a little bit too much gold fine gear on in like a 65 T6 game, and that Mallet Lord guy decided to end my life. So that was fun. I lost a like 3,800 DPS flying dragon, and my Boon of the Hoarder gem, and a bunch of other stuff. So it was pretty depressing.
But at least your gold shares between characters though, so you kept all that.
Yeah, I think because the way that we would do is that you start like early on in the bounties and you clear all the bounties and all this other stuff. So like in the same game, by the time you're done, you'd have every bounty. I mean, we could get like 40 to 50 million depending on how much gold find that you ended up having, because we were pushing like 10,000% gold find or something on our characters. So it was like really ridiculous.
Highest I had is over 6,000% now, and that was with the, like I said last night. So, damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So
it just, I think it's more, it is just, it's fun. Like, you just see a bunch of gold flying all over the place where it's covering your screen, and they even reduced the gold piles of it from what it was before. But I mean,
No, there's still everywhere.
and they're
Yeah,
still
It's
outrageous.
just
Yeah.
everywhere.
So one of the points in the post and in the comments we saw is what if some of the gems that don't give you a visual effect gave you one? Because I at least tend to go for the stuff that makes shiny things. Obviously, Boon of the Hoarder is the ultimate example of that,
hmm
where it doesn't really give you any offensive boost. It gives you movement speed, a defensive boost, depending on your gear, right? So, which is helpful certainly, but it's not I think your DPS. But all the other top gems were all about DPS stuff. I mean, Bane of the Trapped isn't totally about that. Well, it is. It gives you a big bonus for that, but I mean, Bane of the Powerful is like the ultimate one for damage, and Wreath of Lightning was the fourth place votes, and that's about damage, even though it's more of a visual than the damage. And Miranay gives you the cool smite effect, and then Efficacious Toxin was next. And you look at the least popular ones, 4 votes for Invigorating Gemstone, which is 0%, and Moratorium has 2% of votes. So those are really the two only real, outright defensive legendary gems, and they have far less votes than any other option. And because it's funny, Bane of the Hoarder actually Boon of the Hoarder gives you probably better defensive bonuses, except in Greater Rifts if you have Gold Wrap on.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
we keep saying we need more. There's obviously a big imbalance in the game now, where melee characters are weaker than ranged characters, and because it's just so hard to tank when you get into the really high Greater Rifts. And here we are with the only two real defensive legendary gems are far and away the least used by anybody, which seems to argue that either nobody likes defensive bonuses or else they need much better bonuses on them, or possibly both.
well, it's kind of a thing is that, so back to kind of with the Greater Rift stuff is just as you start going higher up, it eventually gets to the point where like the damage incoming is so much that it kind of doesn't matter what you do defensive wise. It's going to be to a point.
But that's with the current gear and the current bonuses.
Yeah.
What if you could get even more defense?
Yeah, and so like I mean, so maybe if there was something that because a lot of these things you look at it like when they were doing the 40s, you're thinking like, oh, they need all these offensive gems and everything else, but they probably could have cleared those without any of the offensive gems, or something like that, as long as you were getting like a good setup of them. But like, so something like the invigorating, when you look at it, it's like, okay, while under movement impairing effects, it reduces your damage by 30%, but it's kind of like, and I don't even know if the interaction of this does it do the 30% reduction, like say you got jailed, does it reduce that damage 30%, or is it that like you get jailed and then you reduce your damage? But,
no one's ever actually used the gem, so
yeah,
no one knows.
and so like, but maybe say it's something like, like as your movement impairing or something like that, they can clarify it, maybe make it, of course, how good they are at rating tooltips. But maybe make it so it's kind of like the moratorium is that like, okay, after you have a movement impairing, you have reduced damage for a certain amount of time, and that increases, either it increases the amount of damage reduction or the time on it. based off of what it is. So maybe like when you come up to a jailer pack, you're actually like, yeah, jailer pack, that's awesome because it's actually going to give you, that 30% damage reduction for, a minute after you get jailed or something like that. I mean, like maybe it's because a lot of these things, for the most part, though, it's like, you look at double unities, you need like 50% mitigation for something to be really kind of a worthwhile type thing. And even, I mean, moratorium being 25% of your damage taking being staggered is kind of like, it's like, okay, it might help a little bit. And I mean, even same thing with invigorating. It's not huge amounts, I think, that people are looking for out of what a unity basically gives you defensive wise. So I think people are trying to maybe compare them to a unity for defensive that you get out of it.
So the other question though was the visual of them, and multiple of the gems. Bane of the Powerful has no visual except for a little icon that pops up, right? And Gem of Efficacious Toxin, the monsters turn green, but you can kind of not notice that sometimes. And other stuff like Gogok doesn't really do anything. Pain Enhancer has no visual at all. Enforcer just makes your pets more damaging, etc. A lot of those. And what if some of those had, what if Enforcer made your pets glow with a fiery red or something like that? Or I mean, there's obviously no shortage of visuals in the game already, but so for Holy Knight, would you care? Do you want shinier graphics on some of the gems, or would that make any effect in your choice?
Well, it depends, because a lot of the stuff going on in the game right now, when I play, my frame rate can go to the floor. But I would like to see some more effects, just to say, hey, I have this, and it makes it, kind of cool. It just adds to stuff. Just, it's just an aesthetic thing. But some people might have the stuff turned down and not care.
Would you care? Are you a rigorous min-maxer, Rankil, and you wouldn't care about the visuals, or would you admit to enjoying those as well?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like, so say taking like invigorating, the gemstone or something like that, and say that was, it made your character on fire, so you're just walking around and being on fire or something like that.
Like NBA Jam.
Yeah, like I don't think that I would pick it because of just a visual effect. I mean, still in the bottom line of what people are picking stuff for, though, is for the effectiveness that it makes your character. So I mean, just making a visual thing on it.
Except, of course, for the most popular gem of all, which they like because it can make shiny stacks of gold.
Yeah, and well, I mean, and it's still as much as the thing is, though, gold is useless now, but it's because of Boon of the Hoarder. But it's still, you still need gold for re-rolling and everything else, and people just love having billions of gold anyway. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it just kind of, I still think that. But and there's still outside uses just from the gold from it. Whereas kind of like an invigorating, or even your for your pets one or whatever, whichever that one's, enforcer, I think it is. The it's like making them have like an aura kind of around them. Yeah, it might be okay, but it's like if you don't have pets, you're not going to use it. It's not like I'm going to use the enforcer because it's going to give an aura. But I'm interested to see, and I'm thinking at BlizzCon that they're going to be announcing probably more gems and some other things, at least maybe, but who knows, because there's only like 2 panels or something like that for Diablo.
Secret panels.
Yeah,
lots of secret panels.
Unnoticed panels, but
like in Bobby Kotick's mansion, where he has his panic room behind a secret panel.
You have to click the gemstone 1,000 times, and then it opens up a secret passage.
Exactly.
The second that you get
tip over the Skylanders action figure, and it opens up.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome if they had something like that, where it was like a secret place that if you somehow found it, you could like get somewhere.
I can just imagine it now.
Yeah, go ahead, Ollie.
Yeah, I can just imagine that whole thing you're talking about. Clicking that stone enough, moo, then it opens up.
Yeah.
I have the solution to our 2 problems here. A legendary gem that gives you a visual effect and a bonus when you get an achievement.
There you go.
It solves both our problems. We have the last 2 topics all perfectly knotted up.
What's the tier 2 bonus then?
It gives you a better visual effect.
A bigger,
it makes a moving
visual
sound effect. It shoots spectral chickens like that stupid bow.
God.
Okay, related topic. Someone in comments said, how come we don't have legendary gems on followers? And that was a thing when they first introduced them. And if the followers' legendary gems went to you, that would just be ridiculous, because then now you've got 6 legendary gem properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just crazy. But what if the legendary gem properties went to the follower? And I'm like looking over them. Most of them wouldn't really matter, because their followers' damage is so crappy compared to your damage anyway. It's like, oh boy, my follower's got Wreath of Lightning, which is doing 600% weapon damage, and he's got 50k damage or 100k damage. And meanwhile, I'm doing 2.9 billion every 10th of a second, right?
Yeah, you think they'd increase the damage of a follower? I miss the follower
from nothing to negligible though.
I miss the follower like equivalent in with the the guys in D2, where they actually were in the group with you, contributing and actually doing decent damage. I would have loved it if the followers did something like that now.
Yeah.
Even if it's just by yourself with your follower. Just do more damage and contribute, because then those gems would be great.
It's kind of
So
almost
maybe
where
if
I
you
see
had
the-
all 3 DPS gems, it could leverage their damage enough to matter.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, it's like I see with like the Ashira set. Like I kind of in a way almost wish that the Ashira set just made your followers out all the time, or like I don't know, or maybe it just made a follower permanent that was out there all the time, so you could run around in a multiplayer game with like a follower of your choice.
And do double unity in multiplayer.
Oh man, that would be
That's all you care about really with followers, right? At least at higher levels.
yeah, that would be interesting though.
Yeah.
Then everyone else would be like, "Hey, you're using the follower. You must have Unity." And everyone puts on their Unity, and then just ends up killing each other.
Awesome. Well, it's softcore, so no one cares.
Yeah, that's true.
So I looked at all of the legendary gems, and there are 2 obvious choices for followers: Efficacious Toxin and Bane of the Trapped, because those both give you a sort of an aura buff thing. Efficacious, the level 25 power, I mean, on those.
Right.
Efficacious Toxin makes everything take 10% more damage from poison, I believe. Or it just everything.
Yeah,
I think, from anything.
all sources when the thing triggers.
Yeah, and Bane of the Trapped is the same thing. It gives you that debuff of speed.
Mhm.
So those are the ones everyone would just use those on their followers, because that's basically giving your follower a really good aura. So it's like, okay, well, question solved. But if those weren't available, it would be a totally irrelevant question.
Well, in the beta or the whatever for 2.1, the PTR, some of them they originally did work on there, because I remember seeing some videos of where like a guy they were taking but they were bugged too, I think it was, but they were taking the Mirene, and it was a Templar with a Thunder Fury on or something like that, and like every time that he was hitting, it would 100% proc every single guy that the lightning was hitting. So it was just the entire screen looked like this kind of spotlight shooting off of all the guys or something like that. But
yeah, that's why they were patched.
Yeah.
Because it was like ridiculously
instead
overpowered.
of fixing the interactivity of the bugged proc coefficients, I guess, on them, they decided to just make them not work at all. Seems the easiest way of doing it.
Well, that is their method in many of these things.
Yeah.
Just remove the feature instead of it's too hard to fix. Bye. We have lots of other features. Okay, last topic on my list, and you guys may have something after this, but is we just got an announcement that Metallica is going to be the closing act at Blizzcon this year, and that prompted either massive celebrations or total size of who, what? They haven't had a good album in 20 years.
Mix of both.
And
Yeah.
sometimes both at once. But anyway, I posted a vote on that, and it's currently, what do you want to see at BlizzCon closing? I just added it to the existing post. And Metallica rules. Metallica rules is 49%, and the next one is no opinion, this is the dumbest vote ever at 29%. And then no closing ceremony at all is 8%. So by the time you get to anything that anyone actually wants other than those 3 options, you're at 7% of the voters, which is, like a rounding error. So really, people either don't care, or they like Metallica, or they think it's a really stupid question in general. And that prompted me to think about this whole closing act thing. And you look at the bands they've had; they've all been from Southern California, basically. Metallica's from Northern California, but close enough. They've had Offspring and Blink-182 and Ozzy. Those are all basically LA. Tenacious D, Offspring, all of them in LA. So it's kind of like whoever's available, I think, is the first thing. It's like if you're calling around and want to get a pizza at 2 in the morning, you kind of pick whoever is open.
Yeah, it was last year. I think it was. I had heard through a friend at Blizzard saying that they were trying to get Deadmau5, but it just didn't work on the schedule or something like that. And like
Well,
Blink
they got him
was
on a
their
live stream,
backup.
so that's almost the same.
Yeah.
I was wondering why they didn't get him, because that would have really been interesting. Probably a better show for some people.
But the whole question is, should they even have a closing conference? Does anyone really care? I mean, some years it's been big. I remember when Ozzy was there, it was kind of a big deal. People were like, "Oh, Ozzy!" That was back when that MTV show was still kind of in memory, the reality show they did.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just nostalgia because he was in Black Sabbath before most people at BlizzCon were even alive. So, I mean, it seems to me that it's kind of like Blizzard's reward to themselves. I mean, we know they're into music. They have that whole, what is it even called now? The level 80 Grim Tauren Lord or something?
No, every expansion it levels
Does
up.
anyone know the current name of that band?
It's a level something Elite Tauren Chieftain.
Something like
so
that
you don't know
thing.
what-
I don't remember.
It's whatever the highest level in the game. So it'd be level 90 Elite Tauren Chieftain, or actually, yeah, because the Warlords of Draenor comes out after BlizzCon, so they'd be level 90.
And they're basically like a metal cover band. They're kind of like a Metallica roadies. And that's what these guys like, and obviously they like Ozzy, and they like heavy metal. Some of Metzen and some of the other guys who are there running stuff, and they're like, hey, we want to have a closing act. We've got our own stupid convention. We want to have a closing act. We want a metal band that we can rock out to and hang around backstage and steal one of James Hetfield's anal hairs. And that's like the awesome. That's like And I can't blame them. I would think it's pretty cool too. I've got one of Lars Ulrich's nose hairs in a little vase in my chest, and it's really awesome. I got it at a show in '87, but Ride the Lightning, man. But so is this just something the Blizzard guys like? Do they think that do other gaming conventions end with music? I mean, they kind of have music like at Penny Arcade, but it's not like they have a special band coming in just for the closing ceremonies. Is this just something Blizzard does for themselves, or they couldn't think how else to end the show? And do you guys even care? Even to BlizzCon's Rankil, have you ever seen one of the concerts?
No, because well, I went. It was the Tenacious D was the first year that I went, and I'm just not really a fan of Tenacious D. And then the next year last year was Blink-182, and I'm a fan of Blink-182, but I've seen them in concert so many times, and I was more interested in playing Reaper of Souls. So
I was going to say, can you name 3 Blink-182 songs? You probably can.
Yeah, but
I could not. I just think they're Green Day, but not Green Day.
No, but there's it's just I don't know. It's kind of the whole thing is like if it was at the end and the show still wasn't open and like you couldn't play games and everything else, but it's kind of like I'm going there to see the games and the new content or whatever it is that they have for it, and it kind of I feel like it like there could have been another couple hours of something else, that might have gone into it that would have been at least Blizzard related, and then maybe they shut down the whole thing and then have a concert. Maybe I would be like, okay, I'll go over and kind of hang out and just kind of watch this or whatever. But like, I mean, I just, for the most part, I'm like, well, everybody's going and watching the concert. I'm just going to go sit in the, it's a ghost town for the lines and stuff there for playing games and things like that. So that's all I do. I use it as, I take advantage of it. So, I mean, I guess I like it just because I don't watch the show and I just kind of listen to it in the background. And they've got enough TVs on it too that you can, and cameras and everything else. So if you kind of wanted to see it, but I mean, unless you like camped out in the front and waited for everybody to be there, like you would end up missing a bunch of other panels and some other things. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't.
You're watching on a TV anyway. You're just sitting 100,000 rows back and watching one of the monitors.
Yeah, and you might as well be playing games and doing the same thing. So I mean, it's nice kind of for ambience, and I can understand where it'd be cool, especially like you said, for like the Blizzard employees to kind of hang out with a group that they might, enjoy kind of hanging out with. But I mean, who knows? Maybe those people, they just come and they're like, where's the, who's got my check is the first question they ask. And then once they make sure they're getting paid, they're like, okay, let's do the show. But like, even then, I don't even think, I mean, the shows they're short too. I mean, they're not that long.
It's like an hour.
Yeah.
Probably.
And I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure probably
show.
like a real Metallica show would be like, 2 hours or something like that with some like, ridiculous things that they end up doing with like crazy stage shows. And I just feel that it's kind of like a watered down show of what you would probably see from like a real art, their own show that they run.
And if people haven't been there, it's a convention center, so it's like a big warehouse. So there's lots of seats, but they go back in endless, long, straight thing. It's not like an amphitheater where you can have 20,000 people that can all see the show. There's probably 1,000 people or 2,000 that can actually see the stage from folding chairs. And everyone else is just, you're so far back you can hear it and you can see it on monitors, but it's not like you're actually at a concert in a sports arena kind of thing. So it's a terrible venue, and it's a low thing. The ceiling's 20 feet high or something. They can't have like huge pyrotechnics or anything. So I think it kind of limits what the bands can do, and you don't get the ambiance of being in like a club because there's no back wall. You're just sort of in this giant warehouse that goes on forever with curtains, dividing it from the video game sections. So that's sort of a drawback to it, I guess. But you haven't been to BlizzCon Holy Night. If you were there, can you imagine any circumstance where you would go watch a band play instead of getting in the front of the line with no lines to play demos?
I would actually play the demos and watch the video on the monitors because basically I'd be watching it like I'm doing at home anyway. So go have fun with the games when I have a chance now when there's like nobody there. I would do what he'd do.
What if it was like the Pussycat Dolls and they were naked? Would you go then or probably not? Are they even around anymore? I have no idea who's a hot female actress that still exists.
I don't even
like
Katy Perry or something.
Who?
I'm sure there'd be enough videos of Katy Perry if she was having some naked show at BlizzCon. There'd be enough YouTube videos of that. I'd still play the games. I've seen a naked girl before. It's not like I need to see.
You have?
Yeah, I
How much did it cost?
It was only $20. It was great.
Did she scream and run?
She said buy one get one free, and you get her ugly toothless cousin too. So it was great.
Whenever I see one, they're like, "Why are you in my dressing room?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, again." they're quick that way. So is the concert? I mean, I don't mind them having a concert. It's like the ticket price would be. Tickets wouldn't be half price if Metallica wasn't playing. It's just sort of a bonus, right? So
yeah.
If you like the band, go see them, and if you don't, and it's just sort of in the background. It's optional.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for Metallica, it's like I was a I was a big fan of them back in. I mean, it was even before my time, but when I first started listening to them, I was listening to Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, and that was like when I was playing guitar in middle school. It was like the coolest thing ever to start playing all their songs and stuff. But then like once they came out with the God, what was the one with the blood and semen load? Was that one?
Yeah, load and then reload.
Yeah, and it was kind of like it was okay, and I mean every band does that where they try a new thing, and then I kind of lost touch, and I was just like, meh. I'm like, whatever. And then I think it was something where they came out with an album that was later remembered seeing a music video, but it was like after they all cut their hair short and everything else, and they were trying to be like, and they still had that metal edge, but it just kind of wasn't the same. And then they got rid of they got what was the new bass player? What's his name?
Newstead quit.
Yeah.
Well, they still have two. Both the guitarist and the bass player still have long hair. Kirk Hammett still has long hair.
Well, I think
and the new bass player has very long hair.
And I don't even. I mean, that's the thing is I'm so kind of out of touch with them, and it's not that I'm like. I don't know. I just really like the old stuff that they had. But I mean, that'd be probably a cool thing though. Would be to at least hear them if they play stuff off of the old. I mean, I'm sure they will, but they probably won't play a large amount of that because I'm sure they'll be like, "Here's our new album coming out. We're gonna play 80% of the new album." And
the last new album came out 5 years ago, so probably not such a push anymore.
True, but yeah, it's. I mean, if it goes through and they play a lot of kind of like the older stuff, it'd be really cool to at least hear it. But again, I'm not. It's not like I'm going to go there and want to sit, within the distance where I can have him, James Hetfield spitting on me when he's singing, but because I'm sure the smell around me too would be amazing. But the
lots of X.
Yeah, and
my main complaint about the concerts is that I'm always in the press room trying to type something up at the end of the show, like trying to get news up and some articles, and they always have it on. It's on every TV in the press room at really loud volume.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so bad if it's music, but I remember when like Tenacious D was doing it, you can't like concentrate because half their songs are just like comedy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
They have all these skits and crap in between them with like guys in art costumes and shit. And it's like you're trying to write, and there's giant booming TVs every 10 feet in the press room, and you're like, I want this to go away so I can work.
Right, like a headset or something.
I listen to Metallica all the time when I'm working, so that shouldn't be too bad this year, as long as I'm not talking to the crowd.
But you're just like working at home.
Pretty much.
Yeah, just with really uncomfortable chairs.
Yeah.
The worst thing, I mean, obviously I'm complaining about being in the press room. It's kind of first world problems, but you get like the worst neck aches after that because they don't have any. All they have are like crappy folding chairs, and the tables are always a little bit too high for the chair. So you're kind of like your shoulders are kind of up at this, picture typing and like your shoulders are a little bit higher than you want them to be to reach your keyboard.
No.
And your neck's kind of like craned forward.
It sounds like when I went to LAN parties where you pretty much they would have like they have 1,000 chairs.
At least you're not typing full speed though,
Yeah.
Oh.
You can kind of slouch back and put your mouse pad at a weird angle or something. But yeah, I always get like the worst neck ache and shoulder ache after like 2 days of that press room. It's like, oh my god, I need to get home and get in a nice chair with armrests and ergonomics and stuff. But okay, we're way into first world problems here. So any closing thoughts, guys? Anything you want to talk about we didn't get to yet?
No, it's just, I mean, BlizzCon's coming up. I mean, it's like really soon now because it's not, I mean, shoot, what is it? It's not
like
this
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not this upcoming weekend, but the weekend after. So, I mean, I'm kind of really looking forward to that. It'd be really nice to go out there, and it's kind of cool too to see like a bunch of, I mean, I see a lot of my old like WoW guildmates and a bunch of other stuff that kind of show up there too. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that I mean, who knows what there is with no Titan, and I mean, if they do make it the next Starcraft expansion, that's going to be a pretty weak reveal. So I'm kind of wondering if they have something up their sleeve at least on a bigger announcement to do, which would be interesting. And I hope there's a lot of D3 stuff that's at least like down the pipes, and maybe there's a 2.2 patch they're going to talk about, because I doubt that there's going to be like small content. I would think that they're going to try and focus more on like larger content patches maybe. But
so what are you looking forward to from BlizzCon this year, Holy Night? And do you expect a new Diablo 3 stuff?
I'm looking forward to, well, Warcraft 4 would be one thing, but we could always hope for the second
Warcraft
Diablo
4.
2 expansion, and those are the two big things I'm hoping for, or even something from the Warcraft movie. But that's what I'm looking forward to.
So where does hoping and where does expecting come in on this?
I'm hoping for Warcraft 4. I'm expecting the Diablo 3 expansion too.
Are you?
Mm-hmm. But
it would
maybe
make sense. It'd be a bit early, but I thought they were talking about like an 18-month like life cycle stuff on it, and I know it took them longer to do the first expansion, but that was because they kind of had to fix a lot of broken things, and it seems like every iteration they've been doing on this has been kind of good. Mm-hmm. So I feel like an 18-month turnaround, it feels that's really getting into like the console type, of like where they have the turnarounds for, but I mean, I think it's something because like Destiny, it's like that just came out and their expansion is in November or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I would hate to see like 6 month, where you're actually buying a new game, but 18 months is not bad. I mean, what was D1 or D2 to LOD? Wasn't that like,
That was 12 months.
It was
That
about
was
a
the only
year.
one ever. That was 12
yeah.
months.
So I mean, like 18 months. I mean, it's quick, but kind of in a way, if they could come out with like new classes and stuff like that, I feel that a game like this needs to have kind of constant content updates, and if they can do it 18 months with expansions, I'd be perfectly fine with that, to be honest.
I'd be happy with expansions or even a Diablo 4. Just expanding this world would be great.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite worlds in Blizzard.
I mean, we've been having this question on the podcast like the last 12 episodes, and like 3 months ago, I was arguing with this. Look, there was no reason we couldn't have Diablo 3 expansion announcement, and the time frame fit for the 18 months thing, etc. And then of course we got, it's been going longer and longer, and we haven't gotten any news, and we've got, there's only 2 Diablo panels scheduled for BlizzCon, etc. So I think it's pretty unlikely we'll get more than just, what's coming up next, some patch preview kind of stuff. But I certainly would like to see more.
I'd like to see
But
everything.
I'm not expecting it though.
Let's see art. I wouldn't mind more material to work with for my wallpapers.
Yeah, we never get art anymore. They used to give us tons of art at BlizzCon. Now we get like, just take a picture of some banner somewhere.
The generic press packets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've had much less art in recent years. But anyway, maybe if we get new, obviously the new expansion, we would get lots of artwork for the world and the character, etc. But don't get your hopes up, Holy Night.
One can dream.
Well, dreaming is fun, but it's much like seeing naked women in dressing rooms. It tends to not work out real well.
Indeed.
So, that's it. We're done. We've covered our stuff.
Well-
You've been listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. What? You have one last point?
Well, you remember that I had a news post recently about China making a Diablo-y looking clone thing. The Nightfall.
Yeah, I like the female monk. That was good.
Yeah, it was really pretty. That's all else I'd have. So.
You want sexy fan art versions of the characters in the actual game.
No. That's just go on and just cut this out.
You just wanted to bring up something about fan art an hour later. It has nothing to do with anything I'm
No,
talking
this
about
is-
now at the very end of the
They have
show.
an entire
it's-
panel of them undressing all the characters. That's all they do. Here, instead of as you
Yeah, here's
level
the
up,
male witch doctor. Oh God, no!
instead of leveling up your characters and getting armor, you're leveling them up and removing pieces of armor off of them.
Explosions of armor coming off of you.
I think that's like every Japanese dating RPG.
Pretty much.
It's like a Pokemon, but she gets naked. It's like a reverse Diablo 3. Oddly enough, your armor class actually increases all the time, so no matter how much you're wearing or not wearing. Okay, you listen to the Diablo 3 podcast, blah, 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 and Diablo8Gamers.com, and moo.
Ooh. Ooh.